The definition of biohacking is to change the environment around you and inside of you so you have control. Every person wants something unique for their life, for their situation. But the uniting element is the same between I want to climb Mount Everest with no oxygen and I want my pants to fit differently. It's control.
You're tuned in to the Dr. Kinney Show, and I'm your host, Dr. Erin Kinney, a naturopathic doctor and speaker dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of your body and guiding you back into balance. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Dr. Kinney Show. I'm really pleased to be sitting here recording in Austin, Texas with Dave Asprey, the father of biohacking. Thanks so much, Dave, for having me here and for coming on the show.
You're welcome. This is my new high-end set. I've lived here for exactly 4 days.
It's a really great set, guys. I mean, well, I'm new to video, so this is exciting.
All right.
This is great. So most of my listeners probably know who you are, but would you care to just tell a little background story about your journey? Because you've had such a cool journey and your health journey.
Well, I used to weigh 300 pounds.
Crazy because he clearly doesn't weigh.
I'm about 7% body fat right now.
It's amazing.
I'm not hungry, ever.
Really?
Yep. I used to have brain fog, chronic fatigue syndrome, arthritis, like all the diseases you get when you're 60 or 70 before I was 30.
Yeah.
I was a computer hacker and decided that I should do something about this because my doctor's advice just didn't work. I went to the gym for 90 minutes a day, half weights, half cardio, 6 days a week for 18 months straight. Didn't miss a day. And I still weighed 300 pounds.
Nothing happened.
Well, I got stronger, but
Yeah.
I still weighed 300 pounds.
Yeah.
And I just eventually learned, here's what to do. And I learned from people 3 times my age running an anti-aging nonprofit group. So I started this thing called Biohacking, which is a global movement, and put on the first conference for it, wrote the definition of the word, like made it into a thing. And then I started Bulletproof, which is pretty well known for bulletproof coffee.
Yes.
Say Dave, the bulletproof guy.
Yes.
So that's me.
Super cool. Well, and it's really interesting. I love that you shared kind of what you had, the brain fog, the fatigue, all those things. That's something that a lot of my patients come in. Most people who come to alternative medicine don't feel good, right? And they've been to multiple doctors. Their labs look normal. And they're like, I really don't feel good. But they've been told, oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. You're not, acutely sick. We don't have anything for you. And the weight thing is so interesting because this is something that I have women, come to me for all the time. Hey, I can't lose weight. I'm cutting calories. I'm exercising. And my answer to them is you've got to understand that your body, it needs cellular energy in order to lose weight. And maybe, I know you touched a little bit of this on the Biohacking Conference, which by the way, guys, just a quick plug. I went to the Biohacking Conference where I met Dave. It was amazing. It was a great conference. The food was great. The speakers were great. And the tech hall was incredible. Super cool, just super cool, innovative health stuff. So the next one's in Orlando, right?
It's in Orlando in June, biohackingconference.com.
Definitely check it out. I will be there. Dave will clearly be there. And
Usually there.
He's usually there running the show. But really, really fun event. So thank you so much for putting that on. And
you're so welcome.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot, which I love. I love learning.
It's cool because there's this weird space where biohackers like me, we're unlicensed, although there are lots of licensed biohackers who are doctors, things like that, or sports trainers or whatever. But this idea, the definition of biohacking is to change the environment around you and inside of you so you have control. The control doctors seek by tradition, by training, is the control to not be sick.
Yes.
When I stopped being sick and I spent $1 million and I cured all my stuff, then I'm like, well, wait, why should I stop? And then that's when it becomes biohacking. It's that I wanted maybe to be the world's fastest person or smartest person or most meditative person, or I just wanted massive control, even though my kids are, jumping all over the place and destroying the house, to just not yell at them. All of those are goals.
Yeah.
They're things that we can do. So every person wants something unique for their life, for their situation. But the uniting element is the same between I want to climb Mount Everest with no oxygen and I want my pants to fit differently. It's control.
Yeah.
And that's what biohacking is about. So it can be medical, but usually it's right on the edge of medical, or it's simple sleep.
It's optimization is what you're doing. No one really think it's different. What would be if you had to choose a word, what would it be?
It's enhancement.
Enhancement. Okay. I like that word.
The problem with optimization is that it inherently implies you're going to give something up. So what's the trade-off? I'm going to trade my happiness for my income. That's optimized. So I'll have just enough money and just enough happiness. Yeah. Gross. Like, I don't want to play that game.
Yeah, you want to enhance.
Yeah. So I want my happiness and I want my paycheck. Yeah. Could we do that? That's not optimized.
Yeah.
We can do better.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm about. We can do things in less time.
Yeah.
In fact, Upgrade Labs is my new franchise, by the way. ownandupgradelabs.com. That's a great URL. And people are opening these across the country. And they're opening Upgrade Labs because they're able to say, oh, people don't want to spend 12 hours a week exercising and doing all these things to be healthy. What if you could spend 20% of that time and be more than healthy?
Yeah. And then you have more time to do the other things in your life that you're not.
Right.
Okay. I get you with the not on the optimization. Well, so circling back to, where we were on the weight, you got this great talk at the Biohacking Conference about, was it the lazy speech? Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We were just essentially talking about just that you don't have to be doing stuff all the time. You don't have to be exercising for 3 hours a day. Or I get these women that come in and they're like, well, I do cardio for an hour a day and I'm, running around all the time. And I'm like, no wonder you're not losing weight. Your cells are exhausted and your cells need energy in order to remove fat from them or get rid of toxins or get rid of Lyme or, whatever you're trying to do. If you don't have cellular energy, you're not going to do anything else.
Some sad, traumatized person in the 70s decided that running was good for you.
Yes.
And he was doing it because of opiates. Exercise makes opiates. They're called endorphins.
Yeah.
Runner's high.
Yeah.
You can chase the high. You can also just chain smoke. It's a similar high.
Yeah.
But neither one is probably sustainable and a good choice. So I did the same thing. I believed, because I learned this as a kid, if you eat less and exercise more, you lose weight, which is not the case.
It's not the case. No.
It can be true some of the time.
Yeah.
But there's hundreds of examples that I could list that show that it's not true. And my favorite one is from the animal ranching industry. So you'd think farmers would know, I gave this many pounds of food to my animals and I got this much fat or this much weight gain of whatever type. And they control all the variables. So there's a drug that cow owners buy, at least if they're the bad kind. It's extracted from toxic mold and it's a synthetic estrogen that's present in the environment. You put a little drop of the stuff in a cow's ear and it soaks in through their cell membranes. And the cow gets fat on 30% less calories. They call that feed efficiency. Now,
think about that.
If such a drug can exist, every single person who's ever told you, exercise more and eat less, it's calories in, calories out, Newton's law, those are people caught in a mysterious realm that is not reality-based. Because the drug cannot exist and they're reality, so they need to change their reality. And when they sit there going, I'm just going to sweat off this potato chip, there are studies that show if you eat the potato chip at noon, you get one response. And if you eat it at midnight, you get another one. The same calories, the same freaking food.
Yeah.
So we can just get away from that. And for women in particular, women are more subject to over keto, over vegan, over fasting, and over exercising. Men and women can both do it.
Yeah.
And when you do it, you stop losing weight. You start getting hormonal and mood changes.
Yeah.
You start losing sleep. You start getting thin hair. And you can't lose the weight.
All of the things that you guys are all coming to me for, and you're listening to this because you want to figure out how to fix that, and it comes back to that. And it's the under eating, the over exercising, those are the biggest things I see.
Oh, under eating! I'm so happy you said that.
Under eating is such a thing.
Do you know?
But it's so not good for you.
I so don't like going out on a date with someone. And she's like, oh, just have the salad, no dressing, please. And I'm like,
please eat something.
Like,
eat a steak.
Don't you eat? Like, there's nothing sexier than a woman eating a steak and enjoying it. It's like, oh, there's a woman who knows how to nourish herself. Yeah. Because that is the food that makes you leaner, makes you stronger, gives you more endurance, gives you a brain that works really well. And it basically says you value yourself. And instead, you're like, oh, I have the Beyond Impossible, like, meat substitute thing. You know, you can save money and just eat a can of cat food, but it's just not attractive. So we can drop that. Just drop it. In fact, the cat food's healthier than the fake meat.
Oh yeah, fake meat. I know you're not a fan of fake meat or veganism.
Gross.
Wait, but I want to talk about kale. Can you talk about kale? Because I feel like when I watched your thing, they were like, you hate kale. I was like, oh, finally, I don't like kale either. I just don't like it.
Can we just be honest? No one likes it.
Does anyone like kale?
Yeah, they do. What they do is they dip it in maple syrup, they add some bacon bits, and then they add some yeast extract, which is also known as MSG. You can like anything, including blades of grass. It doesn't matter. But just taking a raw piece of kale and eating it, your body will tell you not to eat that. In fact, I have a small organic farm. We raise pigs and sheep. Strangely, the pigs don't eat the kale until very last when they're really hungry. Horses won't eat kale usually, and if they do, it's really bad for them.
Yeah, you can't eat horses kale.
Gee.
Well, why is it actually? I don't know.
What kale does is it has this thing called oxalic acid in it. Same thing that raw spinach has. Raw spinach is even higher. And raw kale and raw spinach are worse than cooked kale and cooked spinach. If you must eat these things, what you do is you boil them in water that has calcium in it. You dump the water. You can't just roast them. You can't make kale chips. You dump the water, and then what's left will have about half as much oxalic acid. Now, why should you care? Oxalic acid goes into the body. It finds calcium. And there's calcium in your blood. There's calcium in other places. And it sticks to the calcium and forms calcium oxalate crystals that are razor sharp. It pokes holes in your gut when it does that, so you get leaky gut from it. But when it does this in your blood, it can go to your brain and cause brain fog. There's even links to autism. It's not a cause of autism, but it increases neuroinflammation, which is a real cause. It also goes into your kidneys. It's a major cause of kidney stones. Goes into your joints, a major cause of gout. And if you're equipped with vulva, it can go into those and cause vulvodynia, which is a really painful condition that means you can't even wear panties, much less do anything recreational. So there's a problem.
So that's a problem. Well, I see a lot of patients that come in with interstitial cystitis, which, thinking that they have urinary tract infections all the time, having pain, lower abdominal pain, all the symptoms of a UTI, but they keep testing negative for a UTI.
You have symptoms of a kale juice.
They're drinking too much kale juice.
What do you mean too much?
Well,
they're just drinking kale juice.
Well, and spinach too. It's funny. I don't take people off of spinach. I'm going to start doing that.
Oh yeah, you got to do both.
Yeah.
And
just they have to cook it.
Yeah, you can cook it. In fact, do what your grandmother did. She would make creamed spinach.
Yeah.
Why did they do that? Because the calcium in milk or cream or even cheese, it'll stick to the oxalic acid
in your body.
So it binds to your gut and it passes through. Right. But this idea of a spinach salad, this is for people who were misled in the 70s by people who were, frankly, nutrition whack jobs.
Yeah. Well, all the vegan movement, right?
Can we talk about that?
Sure. We can definitely talk about it.
So my podcast is called The Human Upgrade. It's got 250 million downloads and it's
crazy big, I'm sure.
1,000 episodes and all that. So I've had a chance to talk to a lot of people. One of the more interesting people I talked to is the granddaughter or the daughter of the guy who started PETA.
Oh.
So PETA is the People for the Eating of Tasty Animals.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I get it wrong.
Oh, no, not PETA. That's PETA's the vegan people. What's it?
I nailed you right there. It's People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. And in their bizarre reality, the founder of PETA was in a concentration camp. And when he came back to the U.S., he saw a slaughterhouse where they process animals. Guys, I'm a farmer. I've been to slaughterhouses, and you can do them in a good way or in a bad way. But it triggered him. He was a highly traumatized person. So he said, I've made this psychological unhealthy link between these two things. Therefore, I can't eat meat anymore. The word for this is trauma-induced eating disorder. Mm. He forced it on his family. His daughter, who I interviewed on my show. So this is not hearsay.
Yeah.
She had to hide the fact that she became so profoundly ill on that vegan diet that she started sneaking meat in her late 20s in order to restore her health. And it took her several years. By the way, I've been a vegan. I've been raw vegan. I fell for that line of propaganda. And the reality is that you can calculate deaths per calorie of eating steak or eating a bowl of grains. The bowl of grains provably kills more animals than the steak. Because if you eat steak, you're killing half a cow per year. If you eat a pound of steak every day, depending on the size of the cow. If the cow ate grass, unless it stepped on a bug, nothing else died. Ever. Now, if you take a tractor and you chop up all the bunnies, the birds, the ladybugs, the grasshoppers, the turtles, the cute little mice, and all the not so cute little things that are part of the ecosystem, like snakes and beetles and all that, and you spray it with some glyphosate, you say, I eat organic. Okay, fine, whatever. You still clear cut a prairie. You eliminated biodiversity so you could feel good about not killing animals, even though you killed literally tens of thousands of animals to have your stupid vegan food. We have to end this. It is not kind to animals. What I do and what regenerative farmers do on our farms is we nourish the animals carefully. We feed them ourselves. We take care of them. The animals poop. Poop is the other thing besides meat and milk and leather that animals make. By the way, leather biodegrades and doesn't choke fish the way your vegan fur does. So
I'm learning a lot of this.
Exactly. And leather is where it's at, as long as the animal is treated well. And that you can do that. So what you end up doing is they poop and they make soil that gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And it is actually a sink for carbon. And it builds beautiful plants that you can also eat, at least some of them. Now, this is how regenerative ag works. It's how biodiversity works.
Yeah.
How it doesn't work is we took 1 million acres and we just grew corn there. And any animal that comes near there, we shoot it, which is how they typically run these monoculture things. And you can feel good about the fact that you created an animal-free desert to grow your vegan food. It's bad math. Oh, and then you eat it and you become weak. That's a problem too. So if you love animals, you nourish the animals, you treat them with respect, and then they nourish you back. Yeah. And I say this as a guy who's raised my own cows, my own sheep, my own pigs, my own chickens. And yes, we name them and we eat them and we say thanks. And that's how the world actually works.
Well, and when you think about people, Native Americans, tribes that have existed before us, that's what they did. And they used all of the animal.
Sure.
I mean, I feel like from my perspective and, in my world treating patients, I'm not a fan of vegan diet. I mean, I rarely tell people to eat vegan. I was a vegan too. It's when I got really sick.
Yeah.
That's how I got into this. I got super sick. I gained 30 pounds. I couldn't get out of bed. I got Lyme. I got really sick. It's what started my journey on. So I'm kind of grateful for it in that respect because I wouldn't be here today if I had to go on vegan. But as soon as I started eating meat again, it was like, oh, wow, I feel so much better.
I have probably... Is de-veganized a word?
Yeah, that could be a word.
I've de-veganized hundreds of vegans who said, Dave, I heard your argument, especially around animals or around health, so I'm willing to give it a try. And we usually sit down somewhere and it's grass-fed ribeye, which is fatty cut. Fat has nutrients when it's from healthy animals. And the first bite, it's like someone throws a light switch and they're like,
yes, give me the steak.
And you hear these sounds and then they're like doing the prison thing, covering their food.
This is so good.
And you can see it. It's like you can use your willpower because you're a human. And if you're a really high willpower person who gets a lot done, you can convince yourself of almost anything.
Oh, yeah.
You can convince yourself that a bowl of human kibble is
good for you.
Good for you.
Fat or it's going to make you whatever.
But eventually you're going to learn that it's not. And people are learning very rapidly, which is why Beyond Foods and Impossible Meat stock is down 80-90%. During earthquakes and famines, when there's a food shortage, there's photos of grocery stores that are picked clean. People are buying every supply except
for Beyond Meat. Nobody wants to touch that.
Not food, hashtag, like that's just where it's at. So if you're listening to this, there's an ethical argument, an animal argument, and a human argument, an environmental argument for eating meat, especially from grass-fed animals. And if you can't afford it or it's not available, meat from any animal is better than a plant protein, which is a highly processed, ultra-processed food product. It's just how it works. I didn't make up the rules. I would eat gravel if it worked. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't want you to get sick because you fell for propaganda from someone who was traumatized. That's not how we're supposed to do this. We're working against eating disorders.
That's a really interesting story about the, thank you for sharing that. That was an interesting conversation.
It was
have to go break my how to listen to podcasts.
Podcast. It's the human upgrade, just to search for PETA. Yeah. But PETA hates me, right? The guy who did Game Changers, which is a horrible documentary full of fake science stuff. He and I spoke at Google a while ago, and the discussion we had was it was gross. Like it was not about health. It was not about nutrition. Yeah. It was about fear and shame and trauma. And I just felt like
anything bred out of fear and shame and trauma doesn't, it's not taking us in a good
No, we have enough of that from big media things.
We've got enough of that in general. It's been a rough few years. How was the pandemic life for you?
I don't believe in pandemics that don't exist.
Thanks.
Are you feeling triggered?
Am I feeling triggered? No, nothing.
All right, I was trying.
You were trying to trigger me? I mean, I feel like in my world, it was, you had to, like, you can't escape what happened, right? Whether you believe in it or not, it happened.
People get sick all the time.
Well, people get sick all the time, but I just mean like
sick at about normal rates, slightly higher than normal. But I predicted as soon as Sweden said this is what's going to happen. I said, if you take the next 5 years, Sweden's death rate will be lower than average. And it just came out that that's true. I interviewed a guy who wrote a book on why Sweden behaved differently. Sweden was the one country, the country that longest said, look, let's let it just go through naturally. they admit their mistake was they didn't know older people were more susceptible in the very early days. But even so, now they're making up all these words for people dying more than they thought they would when they gave them an untested treatment. Well, what you end up with is, when people are allowed to have their immune systems behave the way they're supposed to, they actually live better. So no one likes to get sick. People did get sick, but it was not a pandemic in the classical definition of a pandemic. They changed the definition. And even saying that right now, I'm like, are they going to try and cancel me for saying that? So
You've said it before. Have they canceled you yet?
Oh, I was punished on social media.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I have millions of followers.
Yeah.
And they suddenly stopped showing my content to anyone who wasn't a follower. And I was relatively moderate because I'm not opposed to any medical treatment. I just think you have a right working with your doctor to say what works for you. And that's that.
Yeah.
And when they force people who have a doctor who says that's not for this person, once the forcing happens, that's when we've left medicine.
We've left medicine. I think that everyone deserves to have the chance to have their individual. What's the right decision for them?
Well, you work in the field, and there's a reason you're trained and politicians aren't. When politicians tell you how to do your job, that's when they stop being our leaders. Yeah. So the people who did that, they are not your leaders. They're not my leaders. They're just people wearing suits who are bossing you around, and you don't have to listen.
I mean, it's interesting because that we can put that over there, but I feel like in medicine in general, in Western medicine, doctors are not the ones making decisions. Insurance companies are. Yep. And, if your insurance doesn't pay for it, the doctor's like, well, we're not going to order that test, or we're not going to do this, we're not going to do this treatment because insurance doesn't pay for it. And it's like, but if you're trained to look at someone and feel like this is what they need, and you're going to choose not to give it to them because their insurance won't pay it, that's not how.
I would be dead of an autoimmune disease if insurance companies were in charge. I was so sick in my 20s that I ended up spending $1 million. I really probably needed to spend $20,000. I just didn't know where to spend it.
Yeah. Well, and that's what happens to a lot of people. They go and they're like, should I do this? Should I do this? And it's really frustrating. Mm-hmm. But you clearly learned a lot and it paid off. And
I can't complain. It was a lot of suffering, but it let me help millions of people. And I'll never forget how grateful I am for that. I would have liked for someone to have just walked in and said, hey, Dave, here's how mitochondria work. Here's how biology works. You're dealing with an environmental toxin issue and you're eating a bunch of crap. Here's what to do. Yeah. It would have taken me like 6 months to totally change everything because I've seen it happen for 10,000
of other people. That's the thing that I feel like the longer that I've been in practice, the more complicated the case, usually the more we go back to basics. And I'm like, okay, how much water are you drinking? How much sunlight are you getting? How much, time are you spending away from screens? What does your diet look like? What is your exercise? What does your stress look like? Not what drugs you're taking or what, and this is, I think, the problem that a lot of people, struggle with Western medicine. They get put on meds for X, symptom, and then that med causes side effect, and then you get on another drug, and then you're so all over the place that you don't even know what's up and what's down, and then it becomes complicated to undo it all. And then you got to go see all the different doctors, and they got to unwind it when it could have been really easy to fix it at the beginning.
It could have been, and I'm grateful that you're practicing those the way you are. There's lots of doctors who do that, but what percentage of your patients are using insurance?
Oh, mine? No, I don't take insurance.
Oh my gosh. Might that be a hallmark of quality doctors?
Yeah. And
I'm just going to say that some great doctors take insurance because they love their patients.
Yeah.
But
I'm not allowed to take insurance. So, okay. I wouldn't even, if I could, for the reason that I think what you're about to say, but also that I think when you get to this place, when you actually spend your own money on your health rather than something else that's paying for it, you're going to take it more seriously.
You totally do.
Right?
And also, who created a world where you have to go to your daddy who is at your work, who's your boss, and your boss doles out healthcare dollars to you? Like, what kind of weird paternalistic garbage is that?
I thought about it like that. I guess that's...
Well, seriously, it's a model of the company owns the employee.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. No. It's not emotionally or psychologically at all, right? So the bottom line is you should pay for your healthcare. And if the government had something to say about it, if they want to give you a stipend to spend where you want to spend, that would work. Yes. But when it's tied to your employment, it creates all sorts of really, really bad behaviors that aren't intentional. But we need to break that model. That's a very recent model, and it's just dumb.
It doesn't. I mean, people call me and they'll ask like, "Hey, what should I do if I'm going to come see you?" I'm like, "Get an HSA. Get an HSA. Just put your money in that account, and then you choose where to spend it. And if you can get, that's kind of a way to kind of hack the system in the current system. If you have to get insurance, the thing that sucks is if you do end up getting in an accident and need to go to a hospital. You kind of want insurance for that.
What I recommend people do if they have the flexibility and all, is get a very, very large deductible.
Yes.
So it's not even worth filing stuff. You'll spend half your life on the phone with an insurance company just wasting your time because they can have people in India waste your time at a lower cost than the value of your time. That's the insurance model for like how they make money.
Yeah.
So what if, unless you're in the hospital, you never call your insurance company and you buy your own drugs and you just buy them online where they're cheap?
Yeah.
And you call your doctor and say, hey, I'm going to pay cash. What's your deal? And the doctor's like, oh, I have a special price.
Special price for you. Yeah.
Just do that. It's better. Yes, it's expensive. Better yet, learn how to sleep.
Yeah.
Learn how to see the sun. Don't eat garbage.
And then you might feel better.
And you might not have to spend much money. In fact, let's put her out of business. What do you think?
Well, but that's why a lot of us go into like putting out, I went into this thing to be like, I want to help people. I can help X amount of people in my practice, but you can help so many more people when you do things like this, podcasts and books and those sorts. I mean, it does scale better. It's harder to provide individual advice, but that's why I have the big conference, the Biohacking Conference. And one of the things I'm really excited about is Upgrade Labs. Yeah. Because this is a company where you go in and we electrically measure you. This is non-medical, but it correlates to inflammation, where fat is on the body, all kinds of detailed pieces of information you get. And then we tell you exactly what to do. And it's not just, go get on the treadmill. It's stuff that's driven by computers. It's brain training with a computer. It's putting on muscle 3 times faster than lifting weights. It's cardio that's about 10 to 12 times better than going to a cardio class. And it's short, intense bursts of cardio. Very
short.
Yeah.
You don't even sweat. You don't have to change clothes unless you're wearing a dress. Like, it's that simple.
So cool. Mm-hmm. Just think about it. Like, I'm speaking to you women out there who are so busy and come to me complaining, I don't have time to do all this stuff. If you could go get your work, I mean, how long does it take to go to Upgrade Labs and do what are the sessions look
if you were to do 20 minutes there, you could do your strength and your cardio and maybe like, oh, I feel really good. I'm going to do an extra 20 minutes where I'm going to do whole body, very frequency specific red light and other colors of light therapy. You lay on this thing and all of a sudden you got your energy back and you're less inflamed. Or we have another thing. How about dropping a dress size or 2 in a week by moving lymph in the body?
And because you're boosting all the mitochondrial production, which is giving your cells energy. Like I said, your body can't do anything. The cells don't have energy.
We can even teach your nervous system to be less anxious so that you are more resilient, you recover faster. And this is something that replaces your need to go to the gym, but you can still go to the gym if you want to and you like to, you just want to do squats all day. That's totally cool.
But you don't have to.
You don't have to.
So come back to the nervous system resilience training part. What in particular at Upgrade Labs are you doing there for?
There's sort of 5 tracks. And when people are there for stress, they want to be able to manage stress better.
Yeah.
What we're doing is more of the recovery therapies, and we're hooking their brains up to a computer so that they can learn what they are doing inside their head that's causing stress. So we teach you the on-off switch for stress using a computer. And I'll tell you, compared to sitting on a treadmill or standing on a treadmill, I guess, and just walking for a while, why don't you just do our 5-minute cardio thing and then spend the other 20 minutes making your brain work better?
So you're actually measuring when the fight flight is coming on and off.
We're doing a lot more than that.
Oh, but to simplify it down, is that kind of what?
You can do fight or flight for $200 at home. You don't have to go do that.
Oh,
we're actually training specific states in the brain, so you have neurological control. And we'll stress the body, and then we'll immediately put the body in a de-stressed mode.
So it's training it to come out of stress mode, which is what you need for resilience.
Most of us get stressed and we stay stuck. And it turns out that the speed that you recover is a major part of it.
Yeah.
So there's a whole protocol that's there, and you come in the door. Well, okay, maybe you just wanted to get really bulky. All right, fine. We're going to get your main muscle groups. But if you want to like do this weird back of the arm thing, then go to the gym and lift all day. That's totally fine. This is so that all of us have enough muscle mass, enough bone density. We have excellent mitochondria. We make electricity instead of inflammation. Our brains work like crazy, and we look and feel good because our detox systems work great. And all of it's non-medical. So doctors will send their patients to us, and then we just help support what the body can do. And then when you're sick or you need specific advice and lab tests and all that stuff, you go to the doctor. But the idea here is, why would you just go pick up rocks, run away from tigers, which is what all exercise has ever been?
Yeah.
Even meditation. I love meditation. I've spent a week doing it, but I don't normally have a week to do it. So if I can do 10 times more meditation in a half hour with the computer helping me, I'm going to do that. And I think most people want to be with their kids, or they want to
you want to be going and doing other things. You want to have time to do all the things. So where can people find Upgrade Labs? Where are they?
Just go to ownandupgradelabs.com
Okay.
and you can figure out where there are some. You could even open one. Cool. We're opening 3 of them in Austin now. And we've got Seattle area, Bay Area. There's a couple in LA, one at the Beverly Hilton.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep. And we've got franchisees opening across the country. So right now is the time you can open an Upgrade Labs in your neighborhood. So your community.
I got some space in my building.
Oh, yeah? All right, let's talk.
Yeah. Super cool. What else do you want to share? Anything else?
The other big project I'm working on is called Danger Coffee.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And you can go to dangercoffee.com and learn about it. But the idea here is that the world needs more dangerous people. And why? What? Because the people who are hard to program, the people who do scary things are the people who make the world a better place. So what's scary? Maybe you want to ask that guy out on a date. That's scary. Maybe you want to get a raise. That's scary. Maybe you're going to stop someone who's doing something wrong. That's scary. The people you want to be around are people who are incredibly dangerous because they could do anything, but they're nice people. They're kind. We're building that kind of a world. Danger Coffee is lab tested. It's free of the toxins that make you anxious that are in a lot of coffee. They come from mold, but it's also full of trace minerals that we add back into the coffee so that when you drink it, you restore the minerals that plants and especially vegan diets stole from your bones and your mitochondria. So energy density equals mineral density. You want to have a body that's very strong. Dangercoffee.com.
I really love that you added minerals into coffee because I feel like I see so many people that come in that are so dehydrated and it's because they don't have enough minerals and they're drinking probably shitty coffee.
You know what's funny? Coffee is hydrating when it doesn't have mold in it. Caffeine is a very, very mild diuretic, and it's more than countered for by the fact you're adding water in the form of coffee. Mm-hmm. Problem is if the coffee has ochratoxin A, which is a mold toxin in it, that specifically irritates the bladder and the kidneys, so the body pulls water out of blood plasma to dilute it. If you drink coffee and you have to pee right afterwards and your bladder's not full, that coffee was moldy. If you drink coffee and you don't have to pee and then you want to pee when your bladder's full, then your coffee was mold free. If coffee makes you pee, you have bad coffee.
So drink Danger Coffee.
There you go.
Dangercoffee.com. Is that
wow, you're hired.
Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much this was a great setup. And
you're welcome.
So go check out all the stuff. We'll have all the links in the show notes and I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to connect with me on social media and leave a rating and/or a review. This helps grow the show so more people have access to this knowledge that leads to empowered healing. Love and light, and see you next week.